Happy Monday. Welcome back to Retake the Week. It's been another busy 7 days, an event that peaked, I believe, as you told me quite before the show, as the most viewed non-major event in Counter-Strike history or Counter-Strike 2, either way. Pretty big deal. Pretty sure Counter-Strike, though, right, in general?
Counter-Strike, yeah, overall. It beats out, actually, the Krakow Major. It beats out.
It actually also beat the Krakow Major.
It beat a couple of majors, yeah.
Okay, nice.
Including the Krakow one.
Certainly the most viewed non-major, I believe, was the original quote you gave me. And yeah, a lot of other little things happening. You know, roster moves, roster changes. We're here to break it all down, talk about it all, dissect it, and of course, give you some news updates, because they're parts of the scene you don't bother following. Of course, we are. And we'll be addressing all of that today on Retake the Week. Before we get into those topics, we do have to thank the people who make this all possible, make this show available on audio platforms, the members. They've been supporting me quite well now for over a year. Like, I think it's been well over a year that I've had members on this channel, and they've been 70 plus strong for a while. I think we're over 80 members right now, which is absolutely incredible for me. But yeah, shout out to the Court Honor Roll, who you'll see down below, and to the Court contributors, XL and Romich8427. Those two are going to be helping me coordinate another Court contributor podcast in the next sort of week or so. So that's a podcast just for members, where the topics are dictated by the Court contributors, the highest tier of member. But yes, members get access to the King's Court interviews, the BTS segments, full VODs for any live stream I do, including those that are not public. There's a bunch of those that are still on the channel. Some interesting tier list content, some stuff like that. But also a lot of prospect demo reviews, a lot of VOD trawling, let's put it that way. Just watching through all these young players, all these up-and-comers, and figuring out who's great and who's just fine. You know, who's overrated. But yeah, thank you to the members for all their support. Quack, do you have anything to promote?
No.
No. Damn.
No, there's more stuff you can read, usually, as always, on Fragbite if you want to deal with potentially horrible translations. There's also stuff in the TLDR newsletter, but no, nothing special this week.
Okay. Well, hey, with nothing else to talk about, let's get straight into it. Like, nothing else to preview, nothing else to get in the way. Let's just talk about this event. And honestly, Krakavica, as I've now come to call it. I'll call it that until next year, basically, when it comes back around. For now, I'm still calling it Krakavica. Was pretty cool. Like, as far as like watching it live from home, some of the production value was pretty damn good on the crowd, like noise. I assume the crowd was in full throng in terms of the numbers, but also in full song as far as, you know, actually being quite loud. I heard a lot of Furious chants. I heard a lot of there's a few Vitality chants. You know, not quite on home soil, but still travelled fairly well, it seems. It seemed like a decent little event. Quack, would you say it lived up to the billing of being a prestige event, of being an immediate replacement to Katowice? You know, that was a big conversation piece for us, or for me especially, is like, what is a prestige event in this year? Like, do we actually have 4? Do we have 3? Can we extend it? Can we include any new ones? Did this Krakow, you know, format problems aside, live up to the billing of a prestige event?
It's a good question. It's a good question to pose, because this is something that I thought about earlier today, is that these days, there really is, like, especially for newer viewers who do ask this question, why, like, what actually makes a Cologne or a Katowice, or now a Krakow, different from any other event, any other IEM event, especially? And the honest answer is, besides the fact that there's a play-in, so you have more teams there, not much. Like, the prize pool is still large in the other events. Some events, like PGL events, have a larger prize pool, etc., etc., etc. So it comes down to being historical. It comes down to being like the vibe of it all. And at least for a viewer at home, I thought it lived up to the billing. It was very nice. Like, it was a nice experience watching the stream. It was a nice experience watching the playoffs as well. Playoffs games seem to have a good energy. And yeah, that much I liked. I have some notes though from somebody who was there, which seemed to paint a slightly different picture, which I'll quote here. Fan experience was worse, IMO. Paid signing sessions. Stage setup wasn't ideal for lower stand ticket holders. So you were basically sat in a bit of a weird way, which wasn't the case in Katowice. Um,
Okay.
Oh, also for one particular fan, just as a side note, speaking of the audience, that was a very bad experience because they actually got hit in the head with the flying camera at one point.
Really?
Somebody got hit in the head with the fucking camera.
Because they
I saw it on
usually
Reddit,
like, I assume it's like a boom arm sort of thing, and they usually set up with like a decent like rope around them, so you can't be close enough for that to ever happen. Like, how do they manage that?
I don't know.
That's crazy.
I don't know. I think it's they've done it a bunch of different ways because they've had either it's a boom arm, but you've also had, if you remember in Budapest, they actually had them on like strings. So like there was like a big string and like it was moving around in 4 dimensions. I think that's one of the ones they had. I'll send you the clip. I don't know if they got hit in the head actually, but you can see the camera goes absolutely bonk. And I know there was another angle of it as well during the trophy lift. So for that particular fan, it was probably a very bad experience. But yeah, no, it's no, it was he actually got straight up domed by this. It's actually really funny. No, okay. But yeah, no, it seems like it was a different experience. Obviously, maybe some stuff to iron out for next year. It's a new arena, which there have obviously been esports events in the Tower Run Arena before, notably a major. But as far as I know, ESL haven't had anything in the Tower Run Arena ever. So yeah, new experience for them. And I'm sure there's some stuff to iron out for next year. Overall, I'm happy with it. And yeah, it sounded like, you know, as good as you could have hoped for, considering who we had in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm gonna reluctantly slump into it, where I was, you know, very doubtful, very cold to the idea of this being, you know, a prestige event out the gate, replaces Katowice 1-for-1. There was a lot of push for that on the broadcast. Like, it clearly was like a topic of a focus for everyone who was involved in terms of the casting, the analyst desks, the hosts. ESL clearly wanted this to be just a very smooth. We had Katowice, it was a big deal. This is just the same thing, just we've changed cities, nicer event, like hall, like we want to just ignore the fact that we've changed location and just pretend it's always been IEM Winter or the Polish IEM event, the February one, whatever they wanted to actually like mask it as. Pretend it wasn't Katowice specific and just move on. And I'm just like, yeah, you had to put on a pretty good event for that to work. And there were some details I thought were poorly reasoned or poorly thought out. But overall, in terms of the crowd feel and the way the games ended up playing out, I'll reluctantly say by the end of the year, when I look back, I'll be like, okay, we had a prestige event to start the year in Krakow. I'll allow it. Basically is what I'm saying. I'm still anti the 16 playoff thing. I'm still very perplexed about the fucking decision to have a player debut as an analyst at your prestige event. Like, why would that be the place to debut that kind of thing? I didn't understand it. I didn't agree with it. And it led to probably the worst analyst desk performance ever put on tape. Like, I don't know if there's anyone who's ever had that shocking of an event just because, well, he wasn't ready for it in any way. But yeah, sorry, JL. It just wasn't a great start at all. We've had some pretty shocking player casting moments, but this was just something else. Like, I don't know why they decided to do that. It really did kind of cheapen the whole feel and make it feel like you'd gone for a gimmick entirely for the gimmick's sake when it's supposed to be a prestigious event. Like, doesn't really add up.
No, and it begs the question, you know, we've had some successful players or coaches move on into the talent space quite successfully. So that's happened. We've also had a bunch that just don't really work out. Like we had JL. A lot of people were upset about JL. And if you remember ZywO's last year in one of the PGL events, that was quite funny.
Yeah, but he wasn't. Was he on a desk? I remember his casting clips.
It was a desk,
horrific, but yeah, I can't remember the casting, the desk stuff. If he did it.
It was at a desk. It was from home as well, but he was yeah. So he was but he was talking over the footage, which I think is why you remember it as casting, because he was like, "I'm gonna analyze something." Super weird. Got fired after a game, I think. But yeah, it begs the question: why don't they? If they want new talent, you know, if they didn't want let's just say Devil Walk. I don't think Devil Walk was here, but let's just say if they didn't want Devil Walk for Krakow, why did they go for JL?
Well,
Why don't they
didn't
instead
want
go
Devilwalk,
for?
they didn't want Maui, they didn't want Blair, they didn't want all these guys who've done majors, these guys who've done massive events, some of who are incredibly popular in their own right, separate to being on analyst desks. Like Maui Snake is a decent content audience. You know, these guys are not exactly like big downgrades in terms of general popularity. It's just their massive upgrades as far as being on an analyst desk.
Yeah, and it's more so if they didn't want to go for those people for some reason, why don't you go for a Neokai or a Trav or fucking go nuts, go for a Why Not, go for a whatever. These are mates of mine. That's maybe I'm biased, but like
but some of these guys have actually
you
worked
could go for
ESL
so many
events,
other
right?
interesting
like,
people.
Some of these guys actually worked B streams. They've worked.
And Trav definitely has,
Yeah, Trav's worked them. Neokai has. These guys have worked pretty big events. Like they're not nothing in terms of the scene. They've actually it's actually a decent chance to take.
Yeah, because I'm not a huge fan of Dupree as an analyst either. I think he's fine, but it's not
very boring.
Very. Yeah, you could have some genuinely interesting analysis by going for some new, or not even somebody super new. Lucy and Mac have both done, like MacMate, they've both done tier 1 events. MacMate, I think, pretty much the one place he shows up is the Australian IEM whenever they play it.
Yeah.
That's the only place where he shows
without
up.
fail. It's like, let's bring MacMate out the cupboard, like dust him off.
Yeah. Lucy Luz has done ESL events. She's done ESL Pro Leagues and stuff. You don't even really need to go for it. Like, if it's a cost issue, there are people who out there.
It's not a cost issue with how much they fucking paid JL. Lord in heaven, it is not a cost issue. You could have hired an entire extra desk of talent for the amount they fucking spunked on this man, just to say nothing on stream. It was not a cost issue. This was definitely the kids are going to love this one. As if the kids are firstly watching the analyst desk, and secondly, the second they hear him talking, they're like, "Oh fuck, this is kind of cringe." God damn.
Yeah. Fuck no, it just doesn't. No, it doesn't really make any sense to me. But hey.
Yeah, no, you could have.
I mean, what should I say? I didn't watch anything of what JL did. I shouldn't shit on him. I'm just going off public opinion because I care that little about him being on the desk. But like, I would have watched the desk if they brought on somebody who I thought. Okay, that's interesting. That's somebody who I think can have some interesting takes. Let's see how that goes. Then I would have been happy. But yeah, God,
I'm still waiting for. Look, my kind of, it's not like a dream desk, but I think it'd be one of the most unhinged desk hires ever. Just because he's a guy who I've had on shows, and he always has the firstly insanest opinions, but also the stupidest way or the most entertaining way to present them. The contrast between watching Dupree and JL be analysts and listening to just one tea time segment on any episode of the Double Swing he's ever done. Like, the fucking levels of entertainment are just not even comparable. It's like, one's just like boring, weird accent dude talking gibberish, and the other one is genuine, hilarious insight, genuinely interesting presentation, off the fucking rails in terms of both humor and analysis. And you're like, this could be your desk's ESL. Instead, you keep going with known names that are genuinely uncharismatic and not very interesting. Like, I do not understand it. But hey, I didn't watch it. I hope nobody else did, for the most part. Like, I hope people started clicking off the second it came on, because it was so tragic after the first fucking day. And maybe they'll learn. They won't. But maybe they will learn.
Maybe one day. I'm sure they still made a hell of money off of it. I mean, well, I know as you said they also spent a lot, but like, I'm thinking about the 1.4 million viewers we talked about before, that peak viewership. So a bunch
that
of
ain't
people
got anything to do with JL. Come on.
No, but like a bunch of those people have very loud opinions about why JL is bad on a desk, and maybe 4 times that many are just happy that he's there and don't listen to what he says. They just keep watching because it's funny.
Well, yeah, random Lithuanian who doesn't know anything about what is being said, just like, I like him.
A random Lithuanian who they have watched stream on Twitch and who like is mates with Onapixel, etc., etc., etc. We're talking very casual fans here who still provide viewership, like quite a lot of viewership.
Yeah. I'm just bemused, because it's clearly the idea is cynical it's an attempt to get certain viewers to watch the stream and especially hold their attention, just that extra 30 seconds, rather than try to create a genuinely interesting spectacle or segment that people would want to watch because of the quality of it. Like there's a very, very cynical choice being made that just results in people who actually would be interested in a good desk just being bored out their fucking mind.
Yeah.
But hey, the skits were fun. Anyway, let's talk about some Counter-Strike. So about some Counter-Strike, and we're going to go sort of in reverse order. We're going to start with the grand final and make our way back, because I'm trying to do this to stop a certain someone on this show. I don't know who, but as soon as I start with a game or a topic, deciding to randomly throw the narrative to the next game and the next game, and then I end up like, well, so we're going to go in reverse order. So we're going to start with the grand final, and that's Vitality, obviously playing Furia in that best of 5 we all saw last night or yesterday evening, prior to some of us, myself included, tuning into the Super Bowl. I was watching this game, and honestly, it was a strange game to watch, because by the end, or rather, by the time we got to Overpass, but realistically, the 2 maps before it especially, it felt so one-sided, I almost forgot that Furia won map 1. You know what I mean? Like, it was strange to think back on that Mirage, and if we start there, it did begin as the other maps kind of ended, with Vitality on top, Vitality looking like the better side, having the better reads, having effort in the right place, but also hitting all the shots, winning all the clutches. The firepower aspect of Vitality was looking absolutely insane on that Mirage opening. Like, Flame Z had multiple, like, insane triple and quad kill, what's it called? Like, holds and lockdowns. Like, that was looking sick. ZywOo was having a decent start. Apex was just getting away with everything. And Furia just looked a bit lost, but then we switched sides over, and it kind of just, like, the script flipped. Like, all of a sudden, Molodoy is finding every single fight. Yekindar had a lot of success. Fallen, weirdly enough, had one of these like little pop-off maps or halves where all of a sudden he can hit shots with a rifle. Like, he just hits a bunch. And then when he gets on rolling onto a second AWP, sometimes he also has a lot of impact. So yeah, we just saw this crazy comeback, thrilling end to the game. Like, the fact that they do bring it all the way back to 11-11, then close it out 13-11, was kind of nuts. But at halftime, it did basically, if you'd have just taken it at halftime and you apply that to basically the rest of the series, that's kind of the epitome of it. But fantastic comeback. I mean, we saw there the Furia we've talked about in the past, where it's just, they are kind of never dead, right? Like, we've talked about this before. They just find a way. They pull the extra yard out. It's why they're able to win so many overtimes. It's why they edged out Falcons in that great series I remember from a couple of events ago. We saw that aspect of Furia come out in that Mirage second half, where they made the big 10-2 comeback.
Yeah, and it's a very interesting side of Furia. It's probably the only reason why they're honestly considered to be this, well, not the only reason, but part of the big reason why they are considered to be this good is because they can do that sort of consistently and at a higher level than other teams are able to do. Because if MOUZ were able to do this same sort of thing, they would consider themselves very lucky. That's maybe the difference maker why MOUZ aren't up here and weren't able to be in this final once again. So yeah, big half out of Yekindar to bring it back there on Mirage as well, on that CT half. Molodoy as well, big, but yeah, it's a pretty crazy comeback, and that probably gave a lot of people a lot of belief in Furia for the rest of the series, I would imagine.
Yeah, at that point, you're probably coming out of map 1, you're like, okay, well, it was a crazy, like, disappointing T-half, massive comeback, classic series incoming, either we're getting a close 3-0, or people are feeling, 5 maps potentially, some over the times thrown in. You've seen some real classic BO5s recently, and then the second map kind of didn't kill it. I wouldn't say it killed it at all, but my God, I was not expecting ZywOo to take over like that. Now, ZywOo did genuinely play one of his best tournaments. I've put it in the title. I think this might be his best ever event when you combine his level of output, his rating, and the caliber of tournament. Because sure, if you go back to him playing on AAA, he played some events where he dropped higher ratings than this. You know, there's online cups where he's dropped bigger ratings than this across an event. But if you add the fact that it is Krakow, we've kind of like semi-reluctantly given it the prestige tag, and he played this insanely. It probably is his best ever event, and Inferno was the map that really put it all together. Like, oh my word. He found opening picks with rifles in Banana where he has no real... I don't get how he hits the shot. I don't get how he reads, you know, the positions so well. He just looked so intuitive in Banana, in the chaos of all the utility that was dancing around. He just like figured out a way to somehow trade Yekindar back as well in a pretty important round. On the AWP, he picked off Molodoy a number of times in a way that made Molodoy look almost naive. Like there's one where he gets to top mid, puts a flash up. Molodoy dodges the flash, he's playing from long, then kind of just steps out again on like a weird timing. And by the point, ZywOo's just set up on it again, picks him off. But it was kind of like, I put it in this tweet where I was like, I saw it constantly happening. It's like the 3 stages of the game, or 3 stages of the round rather, ZywOo was present and impactful. He had a number of really big opening picks. A number of moments where in the like mid-round, he finds that key like shot to break open a 3v4 where they currently were locked out. You know, he finds the very important sort of trade frag. And then the closing moments in the late rounds, yeah, he was again fantastic. You know, that 2v4 or 2v5 him and FlameZ win on the T side. Sure, FlameZ wins the 1v2 afterwards against 2 low health players, but ZywOo really brings that to within touching range, like actual closing distance where FlameZ can make that happen. Yeah, he was superb, and Inferno was the pinnacle of what I'm talking about. Like, he just did absolutely everything perfectly.
Yeah, and it's that T side Inferno as well. That is almost 14% round swing on the T side. That's still only a 7-5 lead. That's still only 7-5.
Yeah, it was a one-man army job, wasn't it? Like, the team was struggling to really have convincing round wins, but ZywOo was doing a lot.
Yeah, so then my feeling there is, okay, so if you have a baseline, like a normal ZywOo in that first half, you might be looking at being down at the half, and put that into context with having just lost that huge comeback on Mirage. The entire map could look entirely different at that point. So it is that's genuine impact as well. Even if they do, like, they close it in much more convincing fashion on the CT half. You know, if we didn't have that ZywOo, very realistic that they could have been down at the halftime after just losing that Mirage. You could lose Inferno off the back of that. Like, it could easily spiral to being 0-2 down in the series, and then it would have been a different story. So it's not just, you know, an absolute stomp of a half. It's genuine impact in the face of a pretty tough Furia CT side overall.
Yeah, because we've seen this before, where it's becoming a narrative more and more, where Molodoy warms up into the big game. He warms up into the big event, and we saw that during this final. You know, Mirage, he starts off the T side not great. I think has a couple kills in the pistol. Has one other round, I think, where he picks someone off or gets a couple kills that looked pretty decent and impactful. You're like, yeah, that's cool. It's on the CT half, though, that he starts having, he wins that clutch, which was unwinnable. But he hits those shots so fucking quickly that it somehow, works out. The fact that he then is on the CT side of Inferno, he's going to get his AWP out and then just faces this untouchable ZywOo, who picks him off, who goes 6-0 against him in duels, 2-0 in AWP kills as well. I think, crushed Molodoy, because Molodoy had a bad Inferno. He ended up having a terrible nuke and overpass over that. And I think a part of it is just that, he never got fully rolling. Like, he looked like he was getting there. The confidence was building. I think, what's his Mirage CT side rating? Hang on, I got the numbers. Yeah, he goes a 149, 100% cast, 11-7 KD, impactful, high swing. Gets to Inferno, just all of that dead, just splat against the wall. Like, there is just nothing left of Molodoy in the rest of the series. And that's something we have to talk about. Because now that we're seeing more and more Molodoy, we're seeing more and more of him in big events, big grand finals, we can start to get a full shape of what we expect from him and a narrative for him. I do feel like he is getting sort of... Oh, it's not he's getting this. He is pigeonholing himself into this position. Like, he is the one playing the game. Where it does feel like he is getting very momentum-based. Like, we can say, with some confidence, he can come out flat and then recover it, but he can also just have a genuinely awful series from start to finish if he never does get that first crack, that first glimpse of light where he just sees it. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I feel this. Yeah, I can go hit this shot, make this play. If he never gets that feeling, he can just waste away. And we saw that post this Inferno, but very importantly on Inferno, he was just hammered by the long arm of the law in ZywOo, because holy crap, what a map, what a map. Yeah. We said in the pre-show, we said this for the members in the pre-live stream sort of live stream, there's going to be some ZywOo glaze today. Like, that was a truly special series and a truly special event. We've had some negative conversations about him over the course of the last 6 to 8 months. We've talked about him not AWPing, not being our AWPer of the year. This event comes in, uses the AWP way more. We saw an Inferno, a not very AWP-centric map, that he was able to be the best AWPer on the server, full stop. Everything we had in terms of critiques, potential nitpicks, problems with ZywOo, things that we've sometimes had, like, you know, we've said, like, these big grand finals of the majors, he's had teammates outperform him, he's had help, you know, beyond expectation. He hard carried when he needed to in this grand final. Like, this Inferno had to be step up, shut them out, get your team back into this series. Yeah, that was beautiful. That was perfect. Yeah, really, really huge Inferno. Can't be emphasized enough. I mean, Yekendorf did fire some shots back. We saw him have some impact in Banana. We talked about it. You know, did get traded off once or twice, but generally was a very effective player for Furia. It's just the rest of the team not doing enough. You know, K Serato didn't find enough big moments across the series in general, but especially Inferno was a good match, not great enough to really keep them in this. Not enough from Molodoy. Yuri, just generally pedestrian. And Vitality, despite only really having ZywOo and Flamesy in this game, like truly popping up in this map, yeah, they're able to get it over the line. And that's, you know, a 13-8, bouncing back. We go into Nuke. Quack, how would you describe this Nuke map?
I don't know if I can do it in PG terms. A stomping.
Yeah, I mean,
a stomping, flat out.
There's some gamers would use some words, but we can't. That was just unfair, brutal. The T side from this Furia side it just looked discoordinated, unprepared. Like, everything Apex threw at them kind of worked. When they did get opening picks, things were like brought back. When they tried to attack Mezzi's bomb site, he held it down. Like, it was crazy. And I'm going to jump to a round I've prepped here. Hopefully this is open and working. Let me see. Yes, there we go. This was the classic. It's 5-0, right? This is another gun round now for Furia. And let's talk about this, because firstly, the Vitality side were trying some really, like, funky little aggressive things. We've got Mezzi going for a lobby push very early on, and he does lose that exchange. It's a pretty 50-50 fight. Yuri wins it. The reaction off the back of this, though, of Vitality, like, it shows off, like, the quality of their reads, the quality of the setups they usually like to, they can fall into mid-round. Off the back of that, ZywOo, super quick, rotates back in, sets himself up in the site, but then also himself, like, okay, let's try and catch him off. A little innovation, a little twist. He's going to get up close and personal to that lobby door. Robs is going to play super passive towards ramp. Apex is going to play super passive towards outside. It's a semi-committal gamble. Not a full gamble into the A setup, but they've sort of saved themselves. Like, the other players going to stay close enough to rotate in, then going to keep info for their positions, and they're going to wait. So ZywOo on that line is able to trade out Yuri, who does eventually step out into his crosshair. And immediately off the back of this, he smokes to create himself some space and an angle to work around for a main wrap, which they don't actually know is happening really at that second. Apex has caught some info in his outer sort of poking, but he's not actually seen that it's going to be specifically a main wrap. It's just an option as a reaction to this play. He drops a smoke in anticipation, then starts working around it. Picks off another one through the edge of the smoke there. Bang, that's your Kindar taken out. That's one prong of the attack semi-dealt with. Then comes around again and catches Molodoy through that smoke. I mean, the POV on this round is fantastic. I just didn't have time to bring it for you. It was absolutely insane. Everyone, of course, is here in place. The one who isn't is Rops, who's countering the one thing that could have been missed, could have slipped the crack. You know, the only part of the net that hasn't fully closed and enveloped this Furia side is that vent dive. Like, they could have missed a player. That's covered. Vitality have every step, and that's just the mix. I think the mesh of personalities just brought out perfectly there. Apex, very active, very conscious, wants to get throwing himself into the fight. Ropz, very calm, very passive, doing the same sort of role. Immediately makes the lower rotation to cover that potential slip, that overflow. FlameZ trades out everyone on the bomb site. It's a pretty clean round in the end, but just a fantastic display of the IQ of all these different individuals, making a bunch of really high-level decisions super fast. Of course, ZywOo as well, hitting shots, great playmaking. That's a bonus part of it. That's a 4v5 where they looked comfortable. They didn't look stressed. They didn't look pressured. A part of it, you could argue, Furia maybe not milking the clock the right way. You know, it took them a while to get into their final exec, and perhaps, you know, the lack of pressure outside allows Vitality to get into this setup. But it's just super well played. So I just wanted to highlight that round. Fantastic round specifically from ZywOo, but a sick round as a team to have all of these things happen so quickly. Sometimes you miss it, you know, on broadcast where you're just watching one POV. You miss the little Ropz adjustment. You miss how Apex set his team up in a 4v5. It was just a sick round. I loved it. Quack. Hard to beat them when they're playing like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really like the adjustment into the A site there, where both Ropz and Apex like respond with ZywOo moving into that position. That's I'm trying to imagine, like, what would they say in TeamSpeak to communicate that? It's like, what was actually being communicated? Because it's not like ZywOo says, I'm gonna take this position, Apex you fall back, Ropz you fall back. That's practiced, obviously. That's the thing, is like, you couldn't really do this on the fly. This is something they prepared. This is a sign of how like well put together they are, is that they can respond to that, and they know that. So because that's what I'm trying to imagine is like, okay, so ZywOo is obviously not explaining what Apex and Ropz should do, and I don't think Apex has said ZywOo go do this. It's more so something that this is something we do when we lose this opening pick, and when we lose this pick over this sort of control. It's well practiced, it's very well rehearsed, and it's obviously very effective. And also, it's the same sort of thing with dropping the smoke towards main. Probably the only info he got there from Apex was they could be outside. That's about it. ZywOo drops that smoke and manages to play around it.
There's one smoke that lands maybe like 5 seconds before ZywOo takes that shot, drops the smoke. There's like a smoke that just about has landed outside. That doesn't fully block Outer, but it specifically creates sort of a window for a player to drop into main. And the fact that Apex, from a semi-distance, has spotted that, called it, ZywOo's reacted to it after taking a shot. Like, he's focusing on his crosshair, he's hitting the shot, and then drops it, edges around it, picks off 2 more players. Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss, that whole sequence.
I'm nowhere near ZywOo, obviously, but as more of a casual player, I'm thinking, if I'm in that situation, it would take me like a couple of seconds to decide that, oh, maybe they can come main, I should drop a smoke and play around it. But for them, it's like that. And that's like, obviously that's pro play for you. That's not where I am. But it's just very well rehearsed, and I could think of a lot of teams, not much worse than Vitality, who would not be able to do that and have lost rounds because of that.
Yeah, they have. Yeah. The part of that that's interesting is, like, you talk about, let's say, in terms of the AWPers, I could say, who would make that sort of play.
Yeah.
As in, who'd have the wherewithal to potentially spot that main lurks, potentially being a gap to be exploited. Maybe MOUZ, maybe a sort of thing I'd expect actually kind of from a Shiro. Like, potentially. He'd probably actually play it from Heaven still, but just be locked in on her. And maybe Moldo would get himself that close, right? But then to also have someone else calming the outer utility and the outer info well enough for him to have the right read in that situation, to also then have a ramp anchor who's that comfortable to play super passive and also that aware to hear what the final exec like is actually playing out as, like how it's being thrown, what's being hit, who's under pressure, and to immediately start heading towards lower to cover off a potential event dive is, it's a wonderful concoction. It's a blend of people that most teams just don't have. Like, if MOUZ hits that first shot, drops his smoke, sure, he might still be able to make the rest of the plays, but just the other details that didn't necessarily matter as much, would they be in place? You know, would they have a player on Falcons who's already heading towards lower just in case? Would they have, for the entire round, kept their A anchor there to play off him in the same way the way FlameZ is able to trade and mop up? Like, there's a lot of things that they did really well. So, an awesome nuke map that goes 10-2 in the first half. Utterly one-sided. And then they close it out eventually with 3 straight as well. Hilariously, Ropz across this map. He ends up, with a 10-5 scoreline. a decent cast, decent rating. But on the T side, 3 straight rounds, 0 kills, 3 deaths. He just had an absolute, just a nothing burger of a T half in only 3 rounds. It's just funny to see those little details where it's like, team was winning, it's fine. But he did go 0-3 with 0 ADR and negative 13% round swing in those 3 rounds. But yeah, that's just a little irrelevant detail. Big map from Mezzy. Shout out Mezzy. Still one of the best, just A anchor players on Nuke in the world, like, if not the best. I think just awesome play from him as well.
Yeah, about that Rops as well. 2 of those deaths are opening deaths on the T side. It's which feels weird for Rops, but it's 2 opening deaths on T side out of 3 deaths with 0 damage done. That's puts his team in an interesting position in those rounds, but they still managed to win all 3. But yeah, big from Mezzy, obviously. I feel like he's in a strong position to play a Nuke T side just in general. I don't know if the numbers will back me up on this, but I feel like Mezzy is always very strong on Nuke, and especially on CT side. So with that CT start, it's not unexpected that Mezzy performs very well there. But it's obviously just a very strong player overall. Always is, always has been.
Yeah, no, an incredible individual on the CT sides. And we go into then Overpass off the back of a very one-sided Nuke, and we needed some fight from Furia, right? For this series to get more interesting, for it to last longer, we needed more fight. They start CT side Inferno, Overpass rather, sorry, and they get a grand total of 6 rounds, which is okay. It's a CT-sided map, and I immediately, after saw 6-all at halftime, I knew it was done. There was no way. I didn't believe in Furia's T-side enough at that point to see them breaking through. Like, that was 3-1 and done at that point. Like, I don't know about you. I don't know if you're a bigger fan of their just general T-side play or a bigger fan of their calling and their pieces. But I just, against this Vitality's team especially, and how well they play on their CT sides, it just didn't seem possible.
Now, no, that's obviously true. But they did kick off that T side with a 9-6 lead. Furia did.
Yeah, pistol and
which is interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting start off of a 6-6 half. It's obvious, like you said, it's Overpass, obviously. Really, I think you're right in that they lose. In a way, they lose in that first half. I think especially the fashion they lost in, losing 5 straight to start the map on CT side Overpass is just not good. It's good to recover, but like you're down 0-5 CT side Overpass. You like at the best you can hope for is a 7-5 half, and that's already bad. You generally speaking, I would say you need more out of your Overpass CT side just in general. And then add to that, I don't think Furia are particularly special on Overpass. I think Vitality are very good on Overpass. Evidently they also were in this, but also in general I think they are. So at that point, what were Furia really gonna do when they were already down that bad? Like it wasn't really happening.
It had to be something special. Like we need to see like a Yekindar takeover, a bit like he had a fantastic sort of start series on Mirage Inferno. We need to see him stay hot. Molodoy, as we said, just unable to get himself involved in the game. Often you see him when he likes to try things, and I've given him credit for this in the past, where he doesn't lose belief in the fact that he's a star. He's got to be a bit of a hero. He's got to try and make plays. But we saw it on Overpass in the end, just not really amounting to anything. He just took a lot of deaths, didn't pick off a lot of kills, very high swing deaths a lot of the time as well. In rounds where they really desperately needed him to hit one of those plays, make something happen. And then it just all goes to shit with Vitality, closing out off back-to-back A-site, at least quad kills, right? I don't think either one was an ace. I think it was only 4 each time from ZywOo.
Quad kills.
Yeah, it was. Honestly, kind of funny, because at that point, he's 4-5 on the CT side. Like, their CT side's been successful pretty much without ZywOo at that point. It's, Mezzy and Apex have had a good time. Robs has found a lot of frags. They've managed to build a CT half without his AWP really ringing out, and then he has back-to-back quad kill rounds, and that's just like, okay, good. It'd be a bit awkward, a bit uncomfortable, just a little bit less fun if we end the event on a whimper from ZywOo that kind of kills his rating. There's not this big line of green. We don't have this some sort of flashy highlight to really remember it by. But instead, we do have, not the craziest set of highlight shots, but a really nice conclusion to the event with that final flurry of fragging. So a very deserved win for my money, ZywOo's best ever event. Like, this is the best event he's ever played. Like, when I go through it, it's not his highest rated event for Vitality, but the higher rated events he's had either were not wins or were things like the Bounty Online portion. Like, who cares? The Europe Minor Open Qualifier from Lord knows when. Like, these are not real big events. This is his pièce de résistance. This is his best event ever.
It is, and it's his highest rated big event ever as well, joint with Pro League, and I would assume he wins, like he beats it out on decimals considering the KPR. He ends the event on over 1.0 KPR, which is honestly for most players in general. Yes, there's very few people who actually manage to do that, and this is actually the first time he has done it as well. It is the first time ZywOo has had a 1.0 plus KPR event, or big event rather. So yeah. Very strong, very strong. It's I think he ended with a KD over 2, which is also kind of insane. Oppers in general don't get that sort of KPR. His .50 DPR, that's not unheard of for like an opper of a team who actually end up winning. The reason why it's noteworthy is that he has a very high KPR as well, which is something you don't really see. Like out of you can expect it out of Donk and Nico, who just have so much activity, but you wouldn't see it out of an opper. And I think that's why also the KD is so abnormally high, is because you the best of both worlds in some ways. But yeah, insane event. I would honestly, I might say this might be Vitality's best event ever as a team overall as well, not just ZywOo.
I would push back on that. I don't think it was, because if you look at Vitality, when they had their best events as teams, as a team, it's also because they go 5 deep. Like in this event, they didn't go 5 deep, and this was a key talking point for me. FlameZ was awesome in a way that, I've talked about before. He wasn't really last year. He got credit for it as if he was. He was just fine as a, 3rd-star semi-role player kind of guy. He wasn't actually that spectacular last year. This event, he was really, really strong. Rops was pretty unimpactful. Mezzi was playing his roles. Apex played his roles. Like, they played a far less super team-esque, sort of game overall. In terms of the big, flashy highlights, the monster firepower moments, it's ZywOo, a bit of FlameZ. That's basically it. Like, over the sum total of this event, it's very, very much those two players. And I think Vitality have played better events where you've seen more out of everyone. And it just seems no matter what you do against them, no matter who you quiet and who you slow down, they just keep smashing through you because, Rops is going to get a quad kill. Mezzi's capable of tripling up on the entries and dropping a 135 rating. Instead, this event was ZywOo a clear cut above the rest of his team, FlameZ putting in a star showing, and everyone else kind of looking like just supportive pieces in a way that we've not really come to expect when Vitality look their most dominant, when they look their real resplendent best as a team. But this is why I want to emphasize, this is ZywOo's best ever event, because this was his win. Like, he dragged them over the line. And crazy statistical output. The only other players you'd say who are AWPers who've had this kind of KPR output, obviously it's just simple. It's simple all the way to the bank. Like, he's had multiple big events with a 0.9 KPR or better. Like, he's had a lot of events with at least a 0.9 KPR. And in terms of events he won Cologne 2021 with a 0.96 KPR. The Stockholm Major 0.95. Like, he has had crazy fragging output. But no, it's noticeable. It is noticeable that ZywOo was going above and beyond in terms of his kill rate. Like, it was farming, really, at such a high level, which is why we give him so much credit.
Yeah, it's a strong argument for ZywOo overtaking Simple career-wise as well in yet another way. Because I think you could still have made the case that Simple's sheer peak was higher than ZywOo's up until yesterday. I think you could have made that argument if you were comparing the two career-wise. And it's almost eerily similar where they peak as well, considering where they were both at in their careers at the time when Simple was on the 2021 Navi lineup. Absolutely dominating that Cologne and that Stockholm Major, and that is his career peak, basically. And ZywOo, is at a similar stage in his career. Maybe even further along in his career, considering how much he's won. But at this point, even statistically speaking, ZywOo has an event which is stronger than Simple's best big event. Period. That's something you couldn't really say before.
You couldn't say it, no. And this is now a conversation at least. I'll say that with this Krakow.
Yes.
I still think in terms of peak for peak, like for me, Simple still above him. Like, and when you're talking about like a year, a time period, whatever you want to call it, like a stretch, a span beyond a single event, peak Simple still is above this for me as a massive time span sort of thing. Like, not talking about this just event. There's just this event. So in terms of that conversation for the GOAT, that'll still rage on. But no, this was a tour de force. Let's talk about the rest of the playoffs. So we can go back a step and talk about, Lord, what should we go? Aurora and G2. Let's go all the way back to Aurora and G2. Because these two both made the top 6. They both made the quarterfinal with 6 teams. And they just flopped, like straight out. Both lost 2-0. Like neither one even took a map. Aurora looking incredibly poor. I mean, sure, they faced perhaps the best looking Case Rato we've seen in a while. Like, he made every play. He was in every position. Like, he was always in the right place, always at the right time, and always hit the shot. But no one on Aurora really challenging, and the calling, as per usual, falling flat from this Aurora side as soon as they touched the playoffs. A really disappointing way for them to end, but one that you always feel like we see, right? Like, if there's someone to challenge Aurora in these playoffs, they just tend to fall off like this.
Yeah, the way I put it, writing about that game in the newsletter, was that Soulfly has now completed the true Aurora experience because he's shat the bed in a stage match as well. It's not all his fault, obviously not. But considering he actually did play a part in the group stage wins over Falcons and MOUZ, you sort of wonder, okay, maybe it could look different with him there. But it's sort of, I expect him to lose, obviously. Like, Aurora shouldn't have beaten Furia. There was, of course, every chance to do so. I think, as much as Furia, obviously very good. We're talking about them after having played, the grand final. They lost to Foot earlier in the event. They lost maps to Navi, Astralis, Mongols. Aurora, I think, could have taken a map of Furia as well. And, like, there was weakness in Furia, and has been for, I wouldn't say a while, but like for parts of this year, there's been some small signs of weakness, as there have been with some other teams as well. There was a chance for Aurora to break through, but no, it just didn't happen. I think, actually, it was the 3 prior best of 3s Furia played were all 2-1 victories, so this was their most dominant. This was their most dominant win all year, basically. Is what it was against this. It's just. That's a bit of a shame for Aurora to put that up, but yeah, it's. And I kind of, with both of these quarterfinals, I kind of threw my hands up and I was like, okay, let's ponder if we have a G2 or an Aurora upset, what happens next? It's kind of like, well, okay, no, nothing's really gonna happen, because as much as obviously, Furia Spirit was a very interesting game, not one that I couldn't really decide. If Aurora beat Furia, I wouldn't exactly be that excited about a game against Spirit.
See, I disagree, because if Aurora beats this Furia side, it is because the parts of Aurora that make them dangerous were fully brought to bear. Like, that firepower was there. Like the Xantares, Wicardia, Soulfly fragging beyond his roles, like he did in those group stage series that made everyone all of a sudden be, perk up. Everyone all of a sudden forgot Blast. And we're like, damn, Soulfly got some hands. Maybe this is going to be the secret to their success. They're going to have this super valuable anchoring sort of role player who's going to be the ultimate soldier and, shine like a star. Instead, he played genuinely dog shit. Like you'd expect someone who's not really built for those roles and who's never played on the big stage. And they just got creamed. But if they had, had all that stuff working, Spirit are not beyond reproach in that matchup. They don't have superb calling, everything figured out, and, more than just donk to level at you. Like, they really did look like the Spirit of old, or worse, in terms of, how Chopper had them playing. Like, they genuinely struggled, and we'll get to them in a second, but I think Aurora could 100% be in the grand final if they'd been in form enough to win the quarter. That's, I think, perfectly viable. It's just instead they showed up,
Yeah.
they played as we expected instead, though. Like, they didn't have any of that. None of that was there. The calling wasn't good. The fragging wasn't even particularly impressive from guys like Zentaris and Wicardia. The role players didn't play out their mind. Woxic didn't have something special to bring to the table. They just looked shit. And they got creamed. So the hypothetical is more interesting than the actual reality, which is just they were bad. And the G2 game, that's actually a more interesting match to talk about. I think overall, not just the fact that they lose 2-0, they win, they get one map to overtime. There's just more to talk about. Like, if this G2 side can, I don't know, get some of these more of these reps in, because they've looked better at this tournament, haven't they? Like, this is a better showing overall than what we saw outside of London last season. And so the fact that they do play such a good overpass overall, especially with the T side they played, like, you know, the fact that they were able to get 6 rounds on the T side of their opponent's map pick, go into OT, and still then make it, you know, semi-competitive. This is just a promising sign. It's still a 2-0 loss. Let's keep it a $150. MOUZ just outclassed them on stage. So as I posed semi-ironically or sarcastically in the pre-show, who are we cutting now from MOUZ? Like who's the obvious replacement that makes them the championship winner? Because they're still able to go on stage and beat teams like these guys. Sure, they didn't beat Vitality after, but they still won this match, and they did it without dropping a map, even with some difficulty. So this game, I think, had a lot of positives, both teams involved, despite the fact that one team lost 2-0.
Yeah, I think G2 should have been happy to just be here. MOUZ was an opponent they could have beaten. It's a game very winnable for them. It's a bit disappointing that they didn't put up more of a fight, but it was still overtime on overpass, you know. It happens. I think they should have been happy they were here to begin with, which is not to say that, you know, they didn't deserve to be. But that's a good step for G2. I think, like we said, I think I said last week, baby steps. Sometimes that's just the building blocks that you need for a team like this. So they've had, you know, a big title in an event where they didn't really face a lot of the top opposition last year. Now they've had, you know, sort of going through the play-in and group stage without losing a game. Very solid. They managed to make it through. Let's stop here at the quarterfinal, and then next event try to tackle the semifinal. That's sort of how I feel like G2 can build up for this. I think they can still take a lot of positives from it. But again, it's a winnable game. It's a game G2 could have won. MOUZ being perennial top 4 is, you know, that's something which has to end at some point, by them either becoming very good or becoming worse. So far, neither has happened, surprisingly. So
yeah. So far, they're just able to win these games out, even though, like, this was a very tick all the boxes MOUZ game. On the CT side, Torji is fucking wonderful. Like, not the Na'Vi player, the compliment. Like, he was amazing. Like, he was everything we expect him to be. Then T side, obviously, he basically threw some flashes and did nothing else. But they had firepower from Xerxen. Spinks was good pretty much on both sides, but especially on the T side, actually. Just able to add a lot of impact as a true star. Jimmy played a solid game again. They just played like MOUZ, and they played like MOUZ when they're not facing a Vitality-esque team, which is to say, they played their best CS. Like, their best CS looks really good, well coordinated, despite all the question marks around the calling and all the other problems they might have. They just played high-level CS. Like, there's nothing else to really complain about or really consternate over. Like, you don't watch this game and go, MOUZ need changes, right? You just don't. At that point, after that, they're top 4, and it's kind of like, job done. So, no, that was a really incredible series from them. It's a shame about what followed up, didn't it?
I'll say, you know, MOUZ's big problem has been T-sides. That overpass against G2. Good T-side win rate. Dust 2 as well. They played 6 times over the course of the event. They only won half of those maps. But it was the CT side which lost them this time. So that's improvement. That's a good job, Brolan. You fixed your T-side. But no.
Again, the Brolan T-side thing, I talked about this when I was on Overtime on Inferno. Their T-side win rate in group stages is 52%.
Yep.
Where's this travesty of a fucking T-side in the group stages? It doesn't exist, because it's bullshit. They actually do know how to play T-sides. It's just that on stage, they just shit the bed. over and over again, especially when they play a certain caliber of team, which they do over and over again because they're there in the first place, because they play such good CS before they reach this point. So I thought that was always overblown, especially people demanding they make an IGL change. Like, are you on crack? Do you understand that this will just... Like, why would you try to fuck with the balance of this? Like, to achieve what? To achieve what? BG2 tier? Like, is that what you want? Like, you have a team that's constantly top 4 and you want to start making changes. When you have no budget and no superstar, what changes are you fucking making that make you better? It just doesn't exist in my eyes, still. So, let's talk about the semis, and we'll come back to MOUZ. We'll briefly touch on MOUZ because it won't be a very interesting conversation. But the Furia Spirit game, fucking cinema, wasn't it? Like, that was one of the games of the event, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very close game. It was always going to be. I think everybody who saw that matchup coming felt like it was always going to be, well, interesting in one way, but most likely it was going to be very close. And it was a brawl. It could have looked very different if Molodoi didn't show up like he did, but the fact that he did, the fact that he wasn't completely locked down by Shiro, as has been the case somewhat in the past, where Shiro is one of those operators who kind of is able to temper Molodoi a little bit in that one-on-one. It didn't happen here. Molodoi going absolutely nuts, looking very flashy while doing it. Nice. Like, this is a peak game.
Yeah, you know, he had that highlight, obviously, that we all remember. That was just nasty. I mean, the speed of processing, like the flicks, the movement, every little detail that's supposed to be absolute dog shit and terrible and doesn't work in CS2, he used. So I love to see that. That was the clip of the event, really, was that triple kill on ramp.
Yeah.
Especially seeing as he hits basically every shot
the
with,
year
like,
nominee already.
Yeah, but he also hits every shot pretty much like 15 or 20 HP off the back of the initial Molotov that hit him. Oh, so good. But yeah, that's a part of what allowed Furia to win it, and that's part of the details that Furia tend to get right when they do edge out a series over another similarly like leveled competitor. Like Spirit are roughly on that tier where they're supposed to be making grand finals, trying to win events in the way Furia have been. And Furia just stay clutch. And sometimes it is the right rotation, the right team play, the right coordination. But also at other times it is just the shot making. And Molodoi, huge part of that. We saw it in that game. Absolutely annihilates that Spirit round. He has no right winning. Like that is what firepower is right there. It's that set of shots. I'm not sure if we saw the... Hang on, I need to check someone's Twitter. Because I told the guy who makes Dual Swing to make a Dual Swing graphic for just that round. Let me take a look if there actually was, because that by itself was just pure impact. But yeah, other players still played very well. Donk had a bit of a weird game. Oh god, yeah. We've got the dual swing for the entire map, but do we have it for that one frag? I don't think we actually do, unfortunately. Not currently. But Donk had a weird game where he took some really bad openers, I thought. Like some deaths. Like just some bad deaths. But also had rounds where he would just force fights and just get a double kill and you had no right getting it. So it was a bit of a classic Donk in that sense. Where he took over the game but also tried a lot of things and didn't always quite come off, I felt. Especially, I'm talking Mirage here. Because Dust 2, everything he tried worked. But yeah, Mirage, he just had a bit of a weird, very fluctuating game. Trying to pull together, I think, a team that wasn't very well coordinated. Like, the leadership didn't seem all there. And they end up losing in overtime. Just because, yeah, Fury are more clutch.
Yeah, I mean, they are. And Molodoi is just that crazy. Somebody said before in the chat while we were talking about the grand final that ZywOo played like peak Molodoi, which says a lot. Which is, yeah, I mean, big game player he turns out to be despite his inexperience, and that's good. All of Fury are really good. I'm very very impressed by that.
Yeah, and then yeah, Dust 2, as I said, Donk plays great. Zontix actually with a crazy standout performance. I think Zontix had some weird highlights across this series where he looked like he could aim. Like, he was hitting headshots. I was like, what? This is the same Zontix? But yeah, then we get to Nuke finally, and it just comes crashing down. Like, it is just, if it's not Donk, it's nobody for this Team Spirit side. Molodoy, after a very quiet Dust 2, which for an Orpa's Paradise, you know, you'd expect him to do a lot better, but then comes into Nuke and, well, he plays like peak ZywOo. Like, he's hitting all his shots, he's making all his flicks happen, he's doing that stuff, but he's also, there's no cheap, silly, crappy deaths, or there's so few of them that the big rounds he has just completely eradicates it. He's plus 11% round swing, 196 rating, 24 and 10. Like, he just went ham, and a lot of it was on the T side. They did have a 9-3 T side, which is just absurd. But uber impactful in that final deciding map. And as you say, for a guy so young, he's starting to have the rep of a big game player. And it's fully deserved. Like, he's had so many huge matches. He's also had really bad matches in these big games. But at this point in his career, we remember the big ones. Like, the big wins. More than the big losses. They are more important to us right now because he is still finding his feet on the big stages. And yeah, Nuke was a prime example. Just utterly insane. And they won across the series 9-2 in the clutches. Like, all these late round little things. I mean, there was more than just those. There's also like 3vx's, 4vx's, like openings lost that were then clawed back over and over again. Furia were just better in the late round.
Yeah, and that's just how it's going to be sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's a bit consistent. You know, Spirit do consistently struggle to coordinate themselves late in rounds, and I find that alarming. And Nuke was a particularly bad example of it, because it was rounds where, like, they'd find the opening pick, right? Furia find the opening pick. 2 kills traded back by Zontix. Like, that's it. It's just back to a 4-on-3. So technically, the opening pick went one way, but it's misleading because then 2 go back the other way. And so it's a 4v3 for this Team Spirit side. It's just Donk's dead. And so no one else is going to be as confident making any plays or trying to take info or trying to take, like, space back, because Yekindar, I think, will often find the opening pick on Donk, for example, outside. And then they just get out-rotated, manipulated, you know, out-positioned, and lose it all, because they play very disconnected, I find. I don't know if you've noticed this. They don't group up too well. They don't play off each other that well a lot of the time in these late rounds, and they just fall apart. That was what happened on Nuke time and time again, and it was really disappointing to see.
You'd wonder, like, if they tried to be a bit more cohesive, because a lot of the time tradability wins games. This is something we know. This is a tenet of the Retake the Week Counter-Strike philosophy. You'd wonder what they would be able to do in that case, considering just how strong individuals they have. Like, when you have Donk, Tenier, even Zontix and Magix, if they could play with a little bit more tradability, then what kind of would happen there?
Yeah, I don't know. In some of these late rounds setups, like, I don't know what it is to say, because, like, you know, we contrast that round we talked about for Vitality, right, in the grand final, where they are down a man, there's a 2-man unit, and there's 2 players playing ultra passively for their lives. Contrast that to, for example, Nuke, I remember one round, where Zontix is essentially, like, he's Rops or he's Apex. I can't remember if he's outside or he's ramp, or if he started ramp and pushed under outer secret, you know, sort of thing. But he just keeps walking and keeps trying to make the play, whilst everyone else is not playing in a buddy system. He just falls first, and then everyone else falls one by one. Like, it's just improper in the fundamentals of the game, and I think they still need to get that right at some point, or they'll keep losing all these big close games. As I said, we're not going to dedicate a lot of time to Vitality MOUZ. Just suffice it to say, MOUZ played Vitality in another big event semi-final, and this one they lost, unlike the one they actually won that one time. Like, it was back to MOUZ losing 2-0, utterly crushing. ZywOo 168 rating, Rops 162. Not a single person on MOUZ over a 1.0 flat. They just couldn't do a damn thing.
Yeah, they also didn't allocate a lot of time to that game. But this is interesting. We're coming up on about 1 year of seeing these 2 exact lineups play this matchup. Right, and I think this was the 13th time, I believe. The 11th win for Vitality. And, well, you know, again, as I put in the newsletter, I'm just going to keep mentioning stuff I wrote there because I liked my phrasing. Who can forget such classic games as when Vitality beat MOUZ, or when Vitality beat MOUZ, or when Vitality beat MOUZ? It's an old game. But I know, there was some hope. I saw some parallels between when they beat them in Cologne, just after a major win. On the hangover of winning a major, MOUZ managed to beat them in a prestige event semifinal. Hey, I'm throwing my hands up. This is possible. After Vitality did not win Bounty. Hey, wait a minute. Could happen. Obviously did. No, it's these are storylines. The universe is not connected in this way, where where you can draw these parallels. But no, it's it's the same as always. It is the same as always. And who would you cut from MOUZ?
Me? Fucking no one. Until one
Right.
of you mongs who are always crying about MOUZ tells me who the hell you can even sign that's not some random former academy child. Because I need a guarantee. I need you to guarantee me that my team that makes top 4 basically every fucking event doesn't become some lost in the muck maybe playoff team. Because that's a real problem, a real threat of the scene right now with how dangerous the teams following you are. It's not that you're settling for top 4. You are clinging to it. And the second you take a step back, you're probably not going to be there again until you find the next fucking star player in your academy.
The next lineup.
Until you magically promote another banger academy lineup that's full of stars that no one else scouted. Until you do some other bullshit like that you've already managed to make happen once. You're just not going to be able to do it. So I don't want to hear it unless you can tell me an actual guaranteed upgrade. I've heard enough rumors and sort of implied things about who's actually calling and this is Cyclone's team, not Broland's. I'm like, yeah, that's great and all. I still don't trust a minus Broland change. And I don't know who you'd even bring in. So I'm not interested in hearing it.
Well, the question only is then, how do you beat Vitality with what you have?
You don't. And you're happy being top 4 because if you're not top 4 right now, you're barely top 10. It's who on this team? Quack, you tell me. You had no one on this team in the top 20, basically. Who the fuck do you trust to be as good as the players on Vitality?
Nobody. Nobody.
And who are you signing to match Vitality?
I'm not signing anybody. I agree with you. I'm just yeah.
This team has nothing.
I don't know. No, they do. They don't really have anything. My mind goes to if you're stagnating like this and you're barely clinging onto this, yes, you could cling onto it and make a bunch of more top 4s, and you could make a bunch more grand finals without winning anything, and you could be happy with that until this lineup is so old it's washed, and you have to start replacing players anyways. You could do that, or you might just realize that that's not something you want to do because you want to go for wins, and you could take a chance. There's two different philosophies, and one of them I think wants to win more. The question is, then you're gambling. I think you need to gamble on a Klim.
Bit late for that. He's no longer.
Yeah,
available.
They're not getting him. But Grix is out there. Would you like to see a MOUZ with Grix? If you don't take Grix, J Boner has nowhere to go. You could take him.
I'm not fucking doing that. Look, I like gambling on youth when you have a clear problem.
Yeah.
Torgy's not a clear problem. He doesn't perform against Vitality, just like everyone else on this clown show of a team. But he's not a clear problem. So I just don't understand. I just don't see an actual move.
No, there is no move. Cyclone called Torgy like a new ZywOo once at one point.
Yeah, we all say crazy things.
Hey, when he turns 25. I feel 25 is the prime age for both Simple and ZywOo, so maybe we should just wait until then. See what happens.
Yeah, he's only 23, to be fair. But yeah, that's actually not the worst idea I've seen. And when people talk about new IGLs, let's say some of the crackhead shit we've seen about Na'Vi is true, and somehow Alexi B is on the market. I'll allow some attempts to retool with an Alexi B addition. If you are cutting Brolan, or say Jimmy's so miserable you have to cut him as well, for whatever reason, you don't give him enough pawn access or whatever, I'll allow an Alexi B signing, and I'll see where you take it. If you give me Alexi B PR for Jimmy Brolan, and you're trying to make that work, maybe there's a future where I see some changes. But until Alexi B is actually available, no. And
Jimmy Brolan
I don't care about JT either. Like, I like JT, but not enough to fuck with the team that much.
Jimmy Broland sounds like somebody who would absolutely tear up the Batters 24 hours. Just a name of a racing driver. It's just what Jimmy Broland is. Let's move on.
Right. The final round of play we can talk about quickly is the... What's it called? The last stage of the group stage, because we hadn't seen the final day of play when we last did an episode. There's obviously some big games in there, including, you know, MOUZ beating Falcons 2-0 in back-to-back overtime maps. I mean, an absolutely insane game. Quack, what was your takeaway from the final sort of steps of the groups? Final takeaways from these groups. You know, we saw G2 Spirit, Furia Astralis, Vitality Aurora, MOUZ Falcons. I think there's a couple other games that actually happened on the last day, but, you know, just your final takeaways from groups.
FaZe are fucked was probably my main takeaway from the entire thing. Because this was the repeat game of the Budapest quarterfinal. And they got absolutely screwed by MOUZ. Brokey, nowhere. Twists, again, nowhere. And this time I don't think it was a setup issue. This time I think it was just him not playing well. I mean, that's just, you know, fucked. You're out of Krakow that easily after losing to 3D Max, barely beating BC Game. Okay, no, they kind of stomped the final map, but they lost the map. Like, you lose a map to this fucking BC Game lineup, and then you get stomped by MOUZ. That's fucked. What are FaZe gonna do? They're already a dead team, and they've barely signed this team. But yeah, no. And that was on the final day, and then immediately after that, MOUZ go and win 2 maps against Falcons as well. That was a strong showing from MOUZ. That was very good. Very well done.
Yeah, again, doing what literally all these other teams with better players can't do, which is actually make the playoffs and then win playoff games.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, other than that, Furia Astralis. Astralis, that's a nice map win against Furia. They actually played it fairly close overall. I was pretty damn impressed by Astralis across this event overall.
Same.
This game maybe not so much as I was with some others, but in terms of individual players, but the game itself is really good. But yeah. No, that was about the seeding games don't move me. I mean, Aurora do 3 overtime periods against Vitality, that's solid, and then G2 win a map against Spirit. That's gonna happen. No, nothing else really happened there.
Yeah, the Astralis Furia game, like Astralis generally were impressing me. I'd seen, you know, a lot of people were getting quite miserable with the level of play from Stare. Then he goes into the final series against the toughest opponent they have to beat, and he does give you a star level performance, which I thought was quite amusing. But yeah, not enough to overcome Molodoy and K-Serato playing some of their better CS. Like, understandably, like Astralis, there's a lot of potential. I'm excited for this team. They should lose to Furia 10 times out of 10 right now. They do whilst taking a map and playing a decent game. I think they can be very happy with their performance. Not making playoffs, but look, I've harped on this points a few times. There's 20 top 10 teams. Astralis are in the muck. They're in the mix. They're somewhere in that. And
yeah,
I think they've got a real chance of actually establishing themselves as a top 10 side with these players, with these slightly underrated role players, with these new young stars that no one else really thought to take a risk on. They were picked up. I'm really impressed with how they looked. So, yeah, no, this is a surprisingly effective Astralis side with a pretty decent start showing. So, yeah, that was one of the big takeaways for me as well, is actually I was impressed with Astralis.
Yeah. Other than that, no, nothing big. FaZe, what are you doing? Please do something else. Maybe quit, maybe retire, maybe play another game.
Maybe you can sign JT. Sign JT and Holzerk. That'd be fucking... I mean, I wouldn't say 10 times better, but it can't be worse.
I don't hate it. I don't hate that.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's get into, finally, we need to talk about... There has been an MVP awarded. It went to ZywOo, and we had no real bone to pick with that, obviously. How could we? He played so fantastically. But we do have our own little segment where we award the real MVP.
You the real MVP.
Thank you, KD. Is a little thing we amuse ourselves with. So, Quack, do you have any picks for the real MVP? There's I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone you particularly like the look of in this event, or some sort of narrative or storyline you were following that hooked you. But yeah, take me through it.
No, there's nobody. There's nobody who we're talking about who would be second place behind ZywOo, because ZywOo is the real MVP. But there's a couple of others you can point to. I mean, Donk is always obviously a mainstay. He's always going to be here. It's not interesting to talk about, so I won't. I think you can give credit to Keiserato for a couple of these games where actually Keiserato used to not perform that well in these playoff appearances for Furia, up until the end of last year, where they started genuinely showing up. He was up there in this event as well with a 115. Gravity was kind of insane for 3D Max despite being eliminated. Like, if we're going that far down, I wouldn't say that he's the real MVP for the entire event, obviously, but he you know, worth a mention. I don't know. There's a lot of strong players you can mention here. I think Fuzi put in a really solid event. I think Ryu put in a solid couple of games where he really stepped up. I think, you know, you had a pretty good level out of Flamesy, as we said before. You can name a lot of players. But is there anybody who stands out to you in particular?
Yeah, no, Flamesy was a big one for me, as far as, you know, we're talking about not the actual MVP of the tournament, just the real MVP, you know, someone who put in a real shift, almost behind the scenes, because that's what the real MVP is, right? Like, it's
yeah,
sometimes a meme, sometimes, you know, it's your mum. Like, she just did a lot of work, she got you where you are. That's the original inspiration of the segment. So Flamesy kind of, yeah, almost behind the scenes, just added the extra firepower they needed in that grand final and some of those group games. I think I do want to give Gravity some credit, because the fuck, a straight 130 rating out of Gravity whilst calling is just insane.
Yeah.
But no, we shout out Shiro. If I had to pick someone else, give Shiro some credit, because he dropped one of his best ever events, utterly creamed MOUZ in the third place game, which means absolutely nothing to me in the grand scheme of things, but does get them some money, some better VRS like points and placement. So shout out Shiro as well one time. He actually put in a pretty decent performance up until Nuke against Furia against Furia too. So pretty good event for Shiro, all things considered.
Yeah. He mostly stepped up when nothing was on the line. is the problem. But yeah, he's up there. Solid, nice. Yeah. Gravity pretty insane. I might just give mine to Gravity, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Gravity deserves a shout as well.
Gravity doesn't deserve a shout out, but we'll talk about him when he really gets his time. Because Foot, we're excited, but we need them to take a step back just so that everyone doesn't get too excited, right? Like, we need to give them a little time to work it out, to figure things out. But no, that's IEM Krakow 2026. Quite the event. We now move into a segment that should have its own intro, but the intro was lost to the sands of time. Not entirely sure how. It must have been someone who accidentally deleted it. But it is time for everyone's favourite cock of the week. Quack, what have you selected for me?
For once, we're going to Reddit. And this is, you know, you are a staunch MOUZ defender in this case.
Yes.
So I found another one. So I'm just going to read out what Morphiku said in order to defend MOUZ's level for MOUZ for this loss. People was clowning MOUZ for not putting a big fight versus Vitality. At the end, I assume it's gonna be. At the end, they have the last laugh because Vitality was in prime this tournament. Even FaZe put up a bigger fight in major final than Furia. 13-2 Stomp didn't happen to FaZe, and they won first map too. MOUZ just got unlucky to be on Vitality bracket. Now Furia and Vitality are tied. Vitality beat Furia in EPL quarterfinal and Krakow Grand Final. Furia beat Vitality in Chengdu Grand Final and Blast Rivals group stage. I don't know what the point is here. I think the point
is what?
So somehow MOUZ got the last laugh because Furia were worse than FaZe. This is one of those circular arguments about Furia in a best of 5 grand final against Vitality played worse, according to this person, than FaZe did in a best of 5 grand final against Vitality just a couple of months ago. And because MOUZ beat FaZe, that means MOUZ is better than Furia. But he's also saying Vitality and Furia are tied because Vitality was in their prime in this tournament, which is a minus. Like you were obviously so good, so this wasn't even a big lift for you. Therefore, we are devaluing this event for you. I think that's the point they're trying to make.
I have no idea what they're trying to. What people was clowning MOUZ for not putting Big Fight versus Vitality at the They Have the Last Laugh. What?
Yeah.
I don't.
Very strange.
I don't know what this genius is trying to say. I'm just looking at the responses. Hang on. Some of these people interacting might be the bigger cocks.
Oh.
Fair call on MOUZ, honestly. What?
Getting Vitality in the current form is basically a death sentence for any team right now. They looked absolutely dialed in this tournament, and even FaZe couldn't handle them in that final.
What?
Okay.
What is this talking about?
The bracket draw can be brutal sometimes, and MOUZ just happened to draw the short straw. At least now people can see it wasn't about MOUZ playing poorly, but more about Vitality being in ridiculous form. That's your point, I think. That Furia versus Vitality rivalry is getting spicy though, with them trading wins back and forth. I don't know if they're trading wins.
I mean, there is an exchange of victories, as in Furia beat them twice. Now Vitality have beaten them like at least twice, or something like that, I guess, or exchanging titles, I guess, because it's like back-to-back Furia titles, and then it's been back-to-back. Well, not back-to-back, but then there's been 2 Vitality wins since then, with a Paravision blip in the middle. Yeah. I don't know what this person's rambling on about. Yeah, as Dan 36912 says, take your meds, bro. Like,
yeah, agreed.
What are you yapping about? Like, this is the problem. There's a combination of people who don't fully know how to express themselves in English and people who are very stupid on the internet. And I think this person meets at the overlap of that Venn diagram. So what came out the other end was utter gibberish.
I'm looking through their other posts right now. Hang on. What is this? This is a man, are you real? It's FaZe who beat Vitality on Nuke at the major, and there's a reason it can't be Furia because both. What? I
don't know, dude.
That's cock of the week for you. This week's cock.
Just giving us a bloody headache. Like, this is gibberish.
Yeah.
Start to finish. Thankfully, yeah, we don't have to linger too long on that because, God, it's frustrating. But look, I've been talking about this a little bit now. There is a large number of teams trying to compete for the top right now. So I think it's time to bring back the tiers. Yeah, it's time for the King's tiers. We've been a long time away from this. Let me make sure this looks proper before we switch. Yeah, we can switch over. Nice. The King's tiers. We do have our tiers. We have a lot of teams that need placing. I think, Quack, I'll let you pick. Do you want to start at the top or the bottom of the tiers? Because we can start in either direction, and it makes sense.
I think we start at the top because
it's the least surprising, right?
What you yeah, I think we already know what you have at top.
All right, so obviously at the top, we do have the champions. Yeah, we have Vitality at the top of the tiers. Of course we do. They are, I mean, reigning major champions. They had a bit of a weird blast. So what? They're back. They won Krakow. In the second tier, we do have the guys who are just not enough. Like, they're really good, but they're not enough. And there's something missing about each one. And Spirit's case, it's a lot of fundamentals and coordination. They still haven't figured out their new IGL position. And Furia, they do everything quite well. It's just the problem is so do Vitality. And then Vitality also do it better. So Vitality are even more composed, have even better strats and rotations and coordination, and have even better firepower. So it is kind of, they're just not enough. at the third tier, these are the teams with playoff expectations at this point. Weird to see Parivision in this mix, but given they won that bounty, they're still, for us, I think for a lot of us in the scene, they're supposed to be a team that actually makes playoffs. They're supposed to be a team that is competitive and that is not necessarily winning trophies. I think that'd be a bit unrealistic, but is at least relevant in that conversation. In the fourth tier, we have these teams, decent outings so far. Like, it's not the end of the world, but they've not really taken a step forward in any meaningful way. We're still waiting to see what they give us the rest of the year. Some of them have taken a step up, I guess you could say. G2 Astralis now finding themselves here, but it's still, both. One made playoffs, went straight home. The other one missed playoffs to the finalist. It's a decent outing, but you can't take too much from it. But it's not negative, at least. But below that, we have teams with missed playoffs, didn't really get that many big wins, but it's still a bit spicy. Some for different reasons. BC Game have simple. This 3D Max side are just spicy in the sense that they are unpredictable. They can beat anyone. They can also, as we've seen, lose to anyone. There's just some spice in all these teams. I still think FaZe have a little bit of something to offer you in any given tournament. You never know when the FaZe bullshit's going to happen. In the sixth tier, we have attendees. Legally, they attended tournaments, and they will attend more. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they're set on winning a whole bunch of them, but they'll be there. And look, all of these teams that are in the attendees tier have some potential. I like the Pain roster, the Heroic roster. That NIP team has the pieces. They're just not delivering right now. It's just not coming together. And I believe they did qualify for Rotterdam or that Blast event, right? They did win that game.
Yep.
So we'll see more of them, but yeah, they're just not quite delivering. And then the final tier only exists so I can talk about these teams more. Pretty much for two of them. This is a purely wildcard tier. It's actually not supposed to be taken as literally as the rest of them. These are just teams to watch out for. Big, MIBR, and Bait. Bait specifically, I'm still concerned. If they get the AWP right, they could just be super dangerous, right? And we saw them get their opening event wrong its entirety, not just the AWPer. But they're always a threat. And then Big and MIBR, very young players, very exciting players I'm following quite aggressively. So I've thrown them in here just as the wildcards tier. Don't take that tier too serious. But Quack, firstly, in the main section of the tier, the main section of the tree, so it does look a bit like a Christmas tree. Anyone you think is misplaced, overrated, underrated? Anyone you'd swap just instinctively when you look at this?
No, instinctively I think you're right, but it's more when I think hard about it.
Okay.
Somebody in chat before mentioned that Spirit might be more of a G2 level side. And I'm not sure I agree, but if I'm thinking that maybe MOUZ are the ones who should be one tier up, and if I had to remove one of them, it would have to be Spirit. That's maybe one, but that's also maybe slightly overrating MOUZ and underrating Spirit. Like, I will say that I think Spirit are very deadly on their day, so more so than MOUZ are for sure. So I could see it go both ways. I don't really think I'd move anything else. No.
We had some consternation in chat that Foot and BC Game are on the same tier. I would like to see, do you believe, Quack, which one do you think is too high? Which one do you think is too low? What do you think's caused the frustration or the confusion here?
I think BC Game are too high, I would assume. But they did also win that NIP game quite comfortably to make this stage. They took a map off a FaZe who are in the same tier. No, they should probably be a tier above NIP, and I think NIP are fairly rated, which means that BC Game have to be where they are. So I think maybe if you stretch it in a weird way with expectations and such, you could move Foot up instead of one of the teams.
Who though? Because that's the interesting question.
Yeah. You would have to stretch it in a weird way where you'd say, like, I expect more from Aurora, so making the quarterfinals isn't enough, and thus swap it. But you couldn't. No, of course you can't really do that because Foot are not better. It's just, relative to baseline, I think is the argument you would have to make. I don't really agree with Bait being the wildcards, to be honest. I have no hope for them.
You have no hope for Bait. MPL, Kenzizor. Essential.
Yeah, but who?
Sizzy.
Who?
Sizzy.
Who is that? Who is that? And why would they
He's
be
gonna
good?
sizzle.
Why
He's
would
gonna
they...
cook. You wait.
Why would they be good at the video game?
He'd be sizzling, man.
We'll see. We'll see. They have Furia in their opener in Cluj-Napoca, which is their next outing. Later in this weekend, I think. So we'll see about that. I think you could make so many different arguments for Paravision where I won't even make one because I don't know where I would put them. Like they're fair to be in playoff expectations. They did also make like last place of the main stage, they lost to Navi and Astralis, right? Who are both below them. I could see that being invalid.
I'm sorry, I got entirely distracted. I didn't know which team you're talking about.
Paravision.
Okay.
I agree that probably playoff expectations is where I would have them for the season as a whole. But they did also lose to both Navi and Astralis to make last place of the main stage. And both of those teams are below them in the teams.
But they also beat all the best teams in the world and won the fucking Blast Bounty. As much as everyone pretends it's not a real event, it's real enough me for me to still have that sort of weight attached to the win.
Yeah, so I'm not going to make like a proper argument. I'm just going to say that maybe that's one thing you could make an argument about. But I don't know where I would put my own marker on that. So, no, I won't. I don't know.
Right. No, okay. I probably need a new name for this because I used to do tiers and the tiers were all variable width. This will remain this shape the entire time. So there will not be extra tiers thrown in just so I can differentiate things. No, I've got to try and fix it to this shape. It'll be interesting. But that's kind of how I see it, because I do think, as much as BC Game disappointed by going out last of the main stage, they're kind of a problem, I think. Like, in the future, they will continue to be a threat. And it may not be apparent right now, because it does look like a bit of a team that's like on two different sort of hemispheres of thought. Like, there's this Electronic and Simple, there's the Portuguese group. It sometimes doesn't always mesh perfectly. It sometimes looks like they're still figuring out how to play CS together, which is just true. I think they will be a threat, and I think that we've seen enough so far to be confident in that fact.
See, alright, this is where I actually have one small counter-argument against that, which is that I absolutely do not see BC Game retaining that core if and when they don't make the major in April. And then we're talking about an entirely different team. If I gave them 9 more months to play out the rest of 2026 as they are, I could see that. I could see them being competitive, especially at some point, in the future.
So your thinking for moving them down is that after April, they might not be in the major, so they're going to change players. Fuck are you talking about, bro? What has that got to do with anything?
I think the time span you need to give them for them to be a dangerous team in the future is just not going to happen. Because right now they're not making the major. They need to play better in like the next 2 months. I'm not even sure. Are they even, where are they even playing? Because I have no fucking idea. They're not even playing Cluj. They're not playing ESL Pro League as far as I know. No, they're not playing anything. They're not playing anything worth anything before April, but they need to improve to make the major. If they don't make the major, I think they drop at least 2 players. So then we're talking about potentially an entirely different team, which doesn't have the Portuguese core, which maybe doesn't have Electronic, maybe fucking doesn't even have Simple. We have no idea what's happening there. So for that reason, fuck do I know? I'm just saying.
You should know enough to know they're not losing Simple. I'll tell you that much.
I think they just don't get the time needed for this lineup to develop into something special, because if they ever do become something special, I think it'll be an entirely different lineup, because that's the way VC Games seem to operate.
That's a weird take. That's all I'm going to say. It's a weird take.
It's a prediction.
It's a weird-ass take. But anyway.
Somebody out there gets it.
We'll get into the retake games now. We do have a game. You've set something forward. Like I saw in the sheet you've put something I didn't recognize. So what is the idea of this one? National Team Manager.
Have you ever heard of the Esports Nations Cup?
We've done the concept before, yeah?
No. The thing that exists and is going to happen in November.
No, but okay.
A VRS. Okay, Esports World Cup. They have an event similar to the Esports World Cup, except it's all national teams. And I didn't expect they would even have CS there, but they do, and it's a VRS Tier 2 LAN with some very interesting rules. Very interesting rules. So, this game, I'm not going to score you on this right now, because I'm going to do a thing on Twitter later on. You are now the manager of 4 national teams, which I'm going to give you. And I'm going to give you a few restrictions. So the rules for this event is that you can take players from a VRS ranked lineup and submit that as your lineup for the Esports Nations Cup, which is kind of like, it's like the World Cup in football, except it's Counter-Strike. And we already have a World Cup, so they had to give it a different name. Naming-wise, anyway. You can only have 3 players from any existing ranked lineup. Alright? So if you are bait, for example, you can't send the full bait lineup. You need to send 3 players and then 2 more from different lineups. That's an interesting restriction. Because if you are from any one of these countries, you can't just take a final lineup. You need to piece something together. So you are now the national team manager of these 4 countries I'm going to mention, and I want you to assemble a lineup here, and then predict who you think would win. And then I'm going to put it in a Twitter poll, and we're going to see who the community thinks would win out of these 4 lineups. Alright?
Okay.
So we won't get a result while we're recording. We'll get one afterwards. So, number 1, and I'll give you one more restriction because this event is happening just before the major. I don't think any of the major contending teams are going to actually let their players go play this. So another restriction I'll give you, open up the VRS. You cannot use any teams that are ranked 20 or above.
Jesus Christ. Okay, we're keeping it real topical and real clickable. Okay.
Well, you know, you still have some very interesting lineups to put together here. So, country number 1, I want you to put together a national team for.
Right.
So remember, you can't take 3 from any existing lineup. You can take 1 or 2, doesn't matter. You can take from 5 different lineups if you want. No more than 3 from any one lineup. Ukraine is the first one. You are now the manager of the Ukraine national team.
Okay, so just a heads up, once I think about it, I'm going to talk about something that's bothering me right now. The second you put that up on Twitter, that I've chosen these national teams, you're going to need to say that I couldn't pick any players from the top 20 in VRS, otherwise people will be like, he's a retard, why didn't you just pick the best players in the world? So you better fucking put that in the tweet, otherwise I will slap you with a dildo.
Let's screw the 20 thing, pick whoever you want.
Pick whoever I want. Okay, I mean, for Ukraine, that's...
It just gets more interesting, yeah.
It does get more interesting. Okay, it's Ukraine, so I have to take Simple. Simple out of BC game. That was the only one that wasn't going to be fucked by the top 20 thing. Right. After that, give me MPL.
All right.
I need to think who's my caller, because that decides it, you know? I can take 3 from the same team, right?
3 from the same team you can do, yeah.
Okay, give me NPL. Give me... Oh, God. Do I want Wonderful on a rifle? That's an interesting question. Wonderful on a rifle.
Yeah, right.
Not particularly, I don't think. Okay, I want MPL. I want Bit. I'm considering... The thing is, if I go more firepower focused, I can take Zontix and Kensizor and make MPL call. Shale, we just changed the rules to allow top 20. Like 1 second ago. Yeah, you know what? Okay, I'm going to go with that version. I'm going to go NPL to call. We're going to play real loose CS. Very vibes, heavy. Give me Zontix. Give me Kensizor. There's probably some players I'm missing deeper down the list in terms of team rankings. But I feel like, I didn't take any of the Fnatic players, for example, which would have been probably the place you'd have to go to if you're not allowed top 20 players. But I think that's about.
I think when this event actually happens, those 3 Fnatic players are gonna play it. To be honest, that's about as far as I've gone. Interesting. You didn't go for like a Davu. You didn't want to go for an Onyx or a Care.
So I was thinking the Inner Circle guys. I was thinking about it, but I was like, I think the cream of the crop for that scene right now is MPL. And then Zontix is a very underrated big stage and also just role player terms of his ability to anchor and all that stuff. I need Bit, because he's just like one of the most talented Ukrainians possible. At this point, I don't have space for a Davu, for a Ken, you know, for these kinds of guys. For a Fleerex, who's not even really playing right now. I don't know what he's doing. And Onyx, decent caller. He's still learning. He still doesn't have the exposure to the big stages and the big games yet. I'd rather take MPL, who's at least called in mages and things like that. And it's about a very loose calling structure. You know, Simple's going to make a lot of vibe reads and decide a lot of things for himself. I just needed some players who I could, you know, use. So MPL Kingt as a duo doing aggressive things. Bit closing rounds, trading out off the shoulder, just using their chaos. Zontix is a very passive extra player. Like, I think that's a decent roster.
All right, nice. The next country you are managing is Mongolia.
Oh, God.
Yeah, remember, no more than 3 from a single lineup.
Yeah, of course, and me being me, immediately wrote... I didn't write Mongolia, I wrote Mongols. Just slip of the tongue, I guess. All right, give me Blitz. There's no conversation about my IGL. Give me Mazzinho. I just have to have
Interesting trick
them.
you can pull here. Yeah.
Technically, Senzu is not on the team, so I can have Senzu and another Mongols player. I believe that's allowed in your rules, right?
Yeah, that was the trick. Yeah.
So, yeah. Give me Senzu. AWP-wise, is there another AWP option I like in the Mongolian scene? Or do I go pluck Annihilation out of retirement? Where's he even playing right now? He's not even playing on a team. He's not listed for anyone. The other options are like... Who's that?
I think Score has AWP before.
Yeah, I'm not taking Score to AWP when I can have 9-10. Yeah, I'm taking 9-10 on the AWP reluctantly, is what I'm going to say. Because I'm not the biggest 9-10 fan, but I think he's the best option for this team. Then my final rifler. Oof. I need to go deep into the Mongolian scene to just pluck someone out who I think could play well in this specific roster with these roles I've laid out. Oh, it's not pretty. You know what? Bring back controllers.
Ooh.
Bring back controllers. Like Yami, Score, there's other guys who have put up big numbers in the Mongolian scene, but I think they get in the way of, like, they kind of get in the way of Senzu and Blitz and stuff they're going to try and do. I'd rather have controllers who's just going to be a dude who's going to do what he's told. Which gets out the way. I need some soldiers on my team, okay? I can't just have the best fraggers. Oh, what the hell was that? Next.
Yeah. The next country you are managing is Denmark.
Jevlare. Right. Denmark.
Yeah.
All right, I need Hooksy.
All right.
Well, who are the other options? Like Carrigan? Carrigan at the IGL right now, he's not probably the leader Denmark needs. Because it's not like we just have a loosey-goosey set of stars playing super great CS, is it? Like, we don't have that option right now as Denmark. Device is crap. Everyone else who was kind of a good star at the top level is basically just gone. So I don't have that option. So I think I have to start with Hooksy. After that, I've had some interesting conversations myself. And take a look.
You've got...
like all these teams, like, is there anyone I like enough to, like, rescue from some roll hell that they're stuck in?
There's one unranked player I think you'd like.
What, like a Syra?
Yeah. And then...
Yeah, no, I like Syra, but... Lord, I need to...
If you want to go for him.
Who?
Down?
No, I don't want Down. I'm good. All right,
yeah.
give me Shush.
Gabi and Stare if you want to. All right, yeah, okay. Shush.
Shush is a solid role piece. Oh fuck. Hooksy is currently in question. It depends on the style of players I end up with. So if I don't have a good enough entry, I don't want to play with Snappy's style. It's essentially my logic. I'm not sure I have one in Denmark right now. Like, I'm really not sure I have one. Like, an entry I'm happy enough to put all my fucking eggs behind. Like... Okay. Ooh. Big Daddy. There's my closer.
Yeah.
Blame F's in the team. I just scrolled through the VRS. I got to Big. I was like, oh, yes. I remember he exists. let's wrap it up with... Oh, Tesses on my entries actually would be nice.
Shush and Tessus reunited.
Shush and Tessus reunited. That's a pretty good option. Then in the AWP, I'm drawing a blank right now. That's my big
Are you really?
problem. Who the hell would you want on your team from Denmark on the AWP? Like, I don't like Nikodos. Jaboan's a kid. Like, yes, I need a core. That's who I need. You know what? Let's go look. Danish players. I'm going to go to the leaderboards and sort by AWP KPR.
No, Regali wouldn't work. He's a Romanian national.
Yeah, he's not got the flag for Regali.
Unless he does some Matty Cash bullshit and becomes Danish.
Yeah, the options are dire. Like, there's really no good option on the AWP in my eyes. I'm not a fan of Device right now, but he might just be the play just because he's got the experience.
Is that a Device?
One day it'll be you, but Device for now, just because this is the World Cup. You know, I need the big names somewhere. You know, and I think I've got enough firepower. I've got enough calling and structure for it to work.
This is an insane. This would have been an insane Astralis lineup round about 2023. But yeah,
I think it's still insane now, just except for Device.
You're right. Yeah, you're locking in Hooksy, not Kerrigan.
Not Snappy. Yeah, I'm sticking with. I'm sticking with. Yeah, it's really tough for me, but I'm gonna keep it with Hooksy for now, just because he is currently working with Shush. I think Tess is decent entry, but nothing super spectacular. I need a Casper Sky, really, if I want to bias towards this right now.
I see. I'm gonna give you the last one you're getting is actually pretty damn tricky, right? Because you are now the manager of Team USA.
Team USA, let's go.
Yeah, and the Eagles roar.
Yes, caca, or whatever the hell. Who's a must-have player right now for the US? Elige.
So, good start.
Elige just has to be there.
He does.
I think... Oh, does that work? Can I have Elysian Lake on the same side? Does that work? Elige and Lake. Let me think. No, it doesn't. Do I do it anyway? It's the real question. Yes, I do. I have
Remember,
Elige
you are the manager.
and Lake. Yeah.
I would say that
about the roles. Out loud, I'm thinking about the roles.
I mean, if you want to play like you talk about the death ball. You know, if you want to play like that, then you can play like that.
Yeah. You know what? Give me Captain America.
Yeah.
Give me Nitro. Role player wise, Hex is Canadian, which is annoying.
Yep.
That's a bit of a limiting factor.
Why? You can't have NAF, you can't have Twist, you can't have Hexed.
Yeah, Team Canada kind of fucks in certain departments.
Team Canada could fuck. Yeah.
I also love that my AWP option is basically, it kind of has to be OC.
Yeah.
Kind of just
Juniors
has to be.
Around.
Yeah, I'm going to have OC on my AWP, which, okay. I don't need George. I don't need another entry. I can't even use George.
Oh.
Like, it doesn't make sense.
No, you're missing a role player here, is what you're missing.
Yeah, I'm missing a... Do I just take Jaber? Jaber or Nyx is the two I'm kind of thinking about.
Do you really think Jaber would stack up in the World Cup, representing big USA?
I don't think any of them would stack up is the problem. I don't think Nyx would hold up particularly well to the scrutiny either.
I think he'd take it on the chin anyway.
You know what?
But...
Grim, you're getting cucked, but you're in the team. Grim will be my role player.
Welcome. This is actually welcome back 2020 Liquid, pretty much.
Hey, look, I've got a nuts pair of riflers who are very aggressive, very, competent, brave. I've got a caller who knows how to manage the vibes. I've got an AWPer who's just had his best ever event. And then give me Grim. to be left on the special chair. Yeah, okay. I'm willing to ride with this. As Team
Left
USA.
on a special chair in a special mask. Damn. Alright, you have the following lineups. Simple, NPL, Bit, Zontix, Kenzizor is Team Ukraine. Blitz, Mezinho, Senzu, 910 Controllers is Team Mongolia. Hooksy, Shush, BlameF, Tessis, and Device is Team Denmark. And Elige, Lake, Nitro, OC, and Grim is Team USA. Out of these four, who wins the 2026 Esports Nations Cup?
You know, it kind of has to be Mongolia, because that's basically just Mongols. There's no new strat book to learn. There's no like anything to change. Like, this is just Mongols with controllers playing Techno's roles. Like, that's it. That's what I've recreated. So I think that has to be the best team. In terms of the most exciting team, I would go with Ukraine. Like, that'd be the team everyone would be super excited and hyped for. They'd hope would be able to beat the Mongolian side. They would also probably implode, like, dramatically, like in a fiery ball. So explode as well. But no, Mongolia realistically has to be the best of these teams. It just isn't the most excited.
Right. Let's see if the community agrees with you.
I hope so, but I'm also not that invested. It doesn't cost me anything, does it?
No.
Purely hypothetical. But yeah, those are the retake games. We now go into something that never ends. The Eternal Shuffle. Quack, what do you have for me? Give me some roster moves. I'll give you some grades.
Legacy. We talked about last week how they were reported to cut Lux. They ended up doing it, I think, the same day. They've signed Art as the in-game leader, which is something I jokingly said when you said, I wonder who they're going to sign as a caller. And I said, Art? And that's ended up being what they actually did. What do you think about it?
It's I don't hate the idea of giving Art another chance at a team. I just... It feels weird to be in this spot after how excited we were about this roster. Like last year, with the runs they had. The fact that they've looked so terrible this year and then made this change almost immediately. Yeah, it's just not very inspiring. That being said, Art's definitely called a lot of teams. He definitely wants to call. Might be something Lux like reluctantly went back to rather than actually wanted to do. So maybe this inspires something out of them. I kind of have to give it a B because you at least you signed an IGL. But these players, yeah, they should be more involved in the conversations we have for like top 10 this year. Like this level of roster should be amazing. What did Boros do? What?
We're getting onto that.
What?
Did you put a grade for the Legacy move?
Yeah, I gave it a B.
Right, yep. Virtus Pro have cut Perfecto.
Yeah, A+.
A+, very nice. Disband the entire team. Die a fiery death. Nemiga have replaced Risky Bob, their caller of about 16 best of threes, which they won 13 of them, I think, with Shalfie on loan from 9 Panas, because that guy is just in contract jail eternally. But yeah, he's here now. So, do you like Shalfie?
I kind of do. Like, I kind of like him. I know he's a bit of an interesting figure in that scene, but I kind of like him. So hopefully he does get a good run with them. Look, I don't think you said that Nemiga won like 13 of 16 BO3s. I didn't think they were that successful at all since Risky Bob had to start calling.
I will admit that's something I read off of Grimy Renard's Twitter just a minute ago.
Oh, right, they did.
But it might be true.
No, they did actually have way more wins than I remembered. Okay. No.
Yeah, they lost 3 best of 3s, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, I like Shalfie. I didn't think Risky Bob was going to be an IGL, just in general, so whatever. That's fine by me. I'd actually give it an A. Like, I like actually signing another IGL, a younger guy. a youngish guy. Yeah, I don't mind it.
Nice. Eternal Fire have cut Calyx, and Jota has come in, who I guess once again complete their lineup, which is now Rigon, War2K, Demka, M-Star, and Jota.
Yes, it's a pretty good move. Not really a big Calyx guy. You're going to keep it Turkish. It's about as good as it gets. Hopefully Jota now gets another opportunity, I think, to show us what he showed us in Heroic. You know, where he was really impactful in his lurk plays. Like, he was able to be a real value player. So, yeah, no, I like this move. Give him a flat A, yeah.
Yeah, good grades today. Yeah, nobody's really flopped. Boros and GGHao have terminated that contract. So Boros is now free agent looking for new teams.
I mean, for GGHao, it basically means they're not going to be able to do anything again for a while until they figure out another form of firepower to find. He was kind of nuts in the crazy upsets they had in a lot of tournaments. I think they won like one best of 3 that I thought was significant without Boros dropping a 150 in the last sort of 2-3 months. Like, he had been going absolutely insane. His M4A4 looks so fucking good right now. His first bullet's still absolutely sublime. So yeah, Boros is a very interesting free agent proposition. If he's no longer a problem in the way he was with like the Falcons era, members will have heard some of the not intimate details, but some of the details at least in the Snappy interview. So go become a member if you want to see that. He is a fucking crazy talented guy. So fingers crossed this can lead to something else. Like, this is where he joins a team, can use his firepower well. You know, under the right IGL, I think he can be a real threat. So I'm excited.
Yep. Very weird of him to do this. Anyway, Novak have acquired IC's services on loan like less than a month after IC was loaned to All Inners. But now he's on Novak, so he's here with Neil and a bunch of others. Yeah, I think he's actually been putting up good numbers, yeah.
He's on a different Kazakh roster, and he's not played officially with them yet, but he was playing... I thought he had some decent stats when he was playing on All Inners, wasn't he? But he was also a very domestic player. Like, it was a very low level in a lot of these games. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
It's very whatever. For Icy, he just never was that great. He sold a false bill of goods to a lot of people on his time on Amcal, and here he is, back roughly where he should be for now. Like, if he makes another go of it, like, you know, has another good run, that'll be great. But for now, it's just whatever.
Yeah, okay. In the last 17 days, he's played domestic opposition and has a 133. In the year prior, like in the rest of the year prior to that, he has lost every single series, and that was against mixed opposition, like Masonic, MOUZ NXT, Illwill, these kind of teams, and he has a 1.03. Yeah. Damn. Right. Tangle have acquired the services of Prime Taps. Yeah, that's who. Yeah. So it's Danists, Clax, Patsy, Radix, and Prime Taps, still coached by Jumpy.
This is quite a weird move. Like, something and nothing at the same time. Like, it's so strange. I mean, I never had that great a grade on Prime Taps, and I don't think this really shifts the needle, like, for me on this Sangao roster. So you did something. I'll give you a C, but it's not really a big deal for me. I'm not seeing the vision, whatever that vision may be.
Neither. Fluxo have cut their coach Tacitus, and they've added Juve, previously off Into the Breach fame, I believe.
Someone hire my boy Tacitus, the greatest military general of the old world. Your boy, he's lost in the wastelands. But yeah, I joked basically for a while that if Fluxo couldn't figure out their tactics, the aptly named Tacitus probably needs to change his nick. And yeah, he's been cut, so yeah, whatever. I mean, I don't really have much of a take on this. It's just funny. No. Tacitus getting cut. It's a shame.
Yeah, it's a complete tactical revamp with Art and Tacitus being swapped for Lucausi and Juve in the leadership.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, talk about at least it's different. Speaking Speaking of the Danish national team and their op candidates, Sashi have acquired Acor into their lineup to replace. I don't know who was opping before. Whoever it was, they are not opping anymore. Lucky it was, yes, Lucky, who I think retired. Right. So now they have Acor instead.
I mean, you had to sign a player, so in that sense, you good job. In another sense, you didn't have to sign Acor legally, so yeah. I'm being a bit harsh. I think I'll give him a B. Acor in tier 2 is whatever, it's fine. Plus, they had to replace a player retiring. That's, just a mandated move. You can do a lot worse. I shouldn't be too harsh.
No, Chris 2 exists, and yeah, they made the right call. And this is a rumored lineup. So, a short view back to the past, gentlemen. ESC, you remember the Polish ESC lineup? They played very well under ESC, at least in online play. They then announced that the team had been bought out by a mysterious org, which would get announced soon, is what they said. Who basically just gave them so much money they couldn't refuse it. And since then they've been playing as friendly campers. And now we're about 2 or 3 months in. And what's going to happen? What's happening? They are still friendly campers. So what happens then? Well, it turns out that this same org decided that after buying out and signing this Polish lineup, they instead got another lineup, which is this one. ZTR, Volt, Banjo, Mateos, Jorko, coached by Kuban. So we got a little bit of a Gamer Legion plus Copenhagen Wolves plus Banjo going here.
Yeah, this isn't that bad. Like, I didn't think it would be like a solid tier 2 roster, but you think about it. ZTR, as a caller, didn't exactly set the world on fire, but wasn't bad. He played some pretty big events, got a bit of experience. He's been led by some pretty big names. He's been, he worked with Ash for a while. He was in the Ninjas in Pajamas system for a bit. And their name is, yes, the org name, we've got to say that, Focus with a K. So ZTR, given another chance. And then more importantly, around him, these are all really fascinating pieces. So Mateos is like an aggressive kind of entry opener. He's a Croat. He's had some really impressive stints and periods with Copenhagen Wolves and with other teams where he stood in or played with them, like kind of mixed teams. He looks pretty good at times. And now he's a bit wild in terms of his level, but I've been impressed by him enough to be excited about it. Banjo has been super solid for Fireflux for so long. Like just flat 110 rating, despite not having great roles, despite being, an anchor in that sort of sense. He still managed to put out like impressive stats. So I think Banjo is a great get as a role player on your team. And Jorko is such a talent. Like he is mechanically fantastic, can use every weapon, has looked really good for Copenhagen Wolves primarily. Didn't watch too much of his MOUZ NXT stint, to be honest. But on Copenhagen Wolves, he has some really impressive games. So yeah, we are still on the Retake Games banner for some reason. Whatever. It's not the end of the world. The part of it that's interesting is then how Volt fits into this, because he's not going to be, I don't think he's going to be the main star. He's going to be not going to be anchoring. He's going to have some moments where he's supposed to frag. I think he's going to be a solid little like 3rd star piece for this team. And it's going to be really cool to see like him as well. He seems like a very like almost mature player. And everything I see from him, and all the teams he's played in, all the experience he has.
Yeah.
I think he's a great piece to have alongside a ZTR who's a younger IGL and probably needs some help corralling the team. Like this is a pretty tidy lineup. So I'm fairly impressed by Focus with a K and what they've achieved here. This is going to be a sort of 30 to 40 range team with potential to climb given some of the talents they've signed.
Yeah, not bad. Supposedly Kuban himself benched the entire previous lineup and like just made that decision, which is interesting, especially considering some of the accusations some people have levied towards that lineup.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, that's the shuffling. Unless anything has happened since Boros released himself, then nothing. Yeah.
Okay, well, that brings us to the final segment of the show, the way we close the show every week. It's time for Prospects of the Week. I'm going to start with a guy whose demos I was consuming last week around Thursday or Friday. I think before the games kicked off on Friday, maybe. In the morning, I was watching some Tenzi. Oh my god, is Tenzi looking damn good. Really exciting player. Superb crosshair placement, solid spray. Just a good first bullet as well, besides that. Playing some anchor spots as well on the CT side. Like him and Masval, who are like the two big stars of the team. Like on Mirage, anchor opposite sides. It's so weird. But they are... I mean, he's playing really well with Magic. They just won a CCT event. He's playing specifically very well, and he's super promising. Yeah, big fan of Tenzi and the work he's been doing. Currently averaging a 120 for the past 3 months. I think the last week he's at like a 122 or something like that. In any case, I've been a big fan of his work. Watching him play, he is very composed, very sort of smooth mechanically. There's a lot of potential. So yeah, that's a name to watch out for in the future. He was picked out by Frog as like the 8th or 7th prospect of last year. And I finally got around to actually watching several demos from him, and I was like, yeah, that's an absolutely nailed pick.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of him, but I have seen his team because he does play for Magic, and I was just scrolling through. I was actually doing my own Retake game kind of for myself, and I was like, who would I put? Like, who do I think might actually play this Nations League thing? And before I realized Russia is not playing, I was like, who the hell? This Magic lineup, why are they so high up? Like, what are they doing? And yeah, it turns out it's that guy. in large part, it's Tenzi.
Tenzi and Masval have been fantastic, yeah.
Yeah. Very well done. I've just gone for one who is mostly a fun pick, Adam B. He's only played 3 maps this week because he qualified for the closed qualifier for Atlanta. But he absolutely demolished Medisport in a 13-0, which is just funny, and that's why I picked him. Drops a 12.9% round swing, 2.29 rating on Inferno to absolutely demolish his former teammates, or at least one former teammate. Yeah, and then also managed to beat Phantom in a 2-0. I'm once again up there with his countryman Spook leading the game. And honestly, OG, just a small tangent on OG and their team, they've dropped off very heavily in VRS, and they're suffering for it because they had to play the open qualifier. And if we contrast Johnny Speeds, they got an invite like directly to the closed qualifier. So in my mind, I was like, okay, no, OG are surely higher ranked than Johnny Speeds are. No, it turns out OG have just fallen that far down by not playing anything, which makes it really interesting now that they are playing. And Adam B is playing this well, Spook is playing this well. We have some really solid players on this lineup. I think Adam B is gonna shine in 2026, and absolutely dumpstering Medisport to start the year is a good way to start.
Yeah, okay, Adam B, an exciting player. Finally seeing a little bit of something out of this OG squad. Still a long way to go, but we can't really say they haven't finally started giving us results. They've started winning some matches. That's something positive. We'll keep tracking it. I mean, Adam B, Spook, there's a lot of talent. Flammus as well on this roster. It's going to be a difficult thing to make work, but fingers crossed they do, because otherwise, yeah, there'd just be a waste of player. But all right, that's going to be the show. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching it on the VOD and you made it this far, you're a legend. Comment telling us your thoughts on any of our takes, any of these sort of opinions we've shared, breakdowns we've had, sort of analysis points as well. Sub if you want more content. Remember that members get access to bonus content and the right to vote on certain things and see extra things and yada, yada, yada. It's all well and good and fun to be a member. So if you want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. We'll